Brown and Huff Lumber was uptown next to where the City Hall parking lot is, next to MIFCO, was Brown and Huff Lumber Company. And their lumber yard part of it was where the Old Town Sports Pub and Omelet Cafe, where they built that in there, that was their lumber yard. And lumber, of course, was delivered by the railroad right there to them. So that was the other place. Brown and Huff was the other lumber company in Manassas. And Eustis Ford, which is where the Model T came in parts in the train, but they put them together right across the street. And then, but when I was growing, when I was real young, right where new City Hall is, was where the Ford dealership was. And that's, I don't know how long it was there. Whenever I remember, it was there. And then it moved out and became Battlefield Ford. And but Woody Merchant, who was involved with Battlefield Ford, his grandfather was the one that sold that first Model T in Manassas. His grandfather or great-grandfather. It had to be grandfather back in the teens, because that's when my grandfather built the Opera House. My granddaddy Connor built the Opera House.
I know, we had milk delivery and
Yes. Birmingham Dairy delivered your milk.
Yeah, and we went out to the Birmingham Green, which is what it's called now, which has been there forever. And we bought eggs out there. They had chickens out there, and they also had a St. Bernard that pulled a cart. And so my sister and I would ride in the cart while Mother would get eggs from the lady that was there running.
Wow.
Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah. And they would always come to the front of the fence and wave to the,
No, I
to
do
the
remember
people
that.
in the cars that would go by as a pastime.
There was a Firestone store up there where Rohr's, the building that Rohr took over on Main Street. Caden had a gas station there right on the corner. Here's the Rohr's building, and this was a Firestone store. And there were 2 gas pump stations here and a gas station. Anyway, Caden built a building over, the Hibbs and Gibbs building is here where the Freedom Museum is. Up in the middle of it is another building, and Caden Merchant built that building somewhere in the late 40s. He bought a couple pickup trucks, painted them red and white, and put Merchants Incorporated on them, put tires and batteries on the back of them, and had 2 drivers drive to all the gas stations and sell them batteries and tires off the back of that. And that's how Merchants got started. And then they had, where the pavilion is now, there was a recap factory. They used to recap tires there. That was back in the 50s and 60s. And then recaps are out of date now, I guess. I don't think anybody recaps tires anymore. They did it during World War II because of the shortage of tires.
The greatest man that ever walked in Manassas. He had people working for him, and they stole, and he knew they stole. Had them caught. And 3 weeks later, they're back here working for us. That was him. And he met you on the street, meet you anywhere. Ain't a man in this world could ever say anything about him. How you doing? How's your family? How'd you get along? And he had a man that was working for him when he first started out, named John Red was his name. He was a Negro, washing cars for that man. That man carried him all the way up till he was a clerk of selling tires in his store. I never forgot it. And that man would get drunk and go away and stay away for a month. Come back, he's still working for him. That was Merchant.
at the Manassas Ice and Fuel, you go there and you buy coal, buy your ice. Harry Paris' daddy one day I went there to get some ice. You see, I said, nobody had a day. What in the world all that? I blew the horn. He must have been back in there taking a nap. And after all, here's somebody, hey, go ahead and blow your horn. I'm awake. He took care of business pretty well there. You get tired sometimes, you want to sit down for a rest. But there you could buy coal to heat your house with it. People buy it by the bags. These big old burlap bags, they call it 100 pounds, but they would back the car up and they'd fill that bag up. Pay for the coal, come on, they'll stay warm for a couple nights.
And that's where it come back into these parishes. They ran the coal yard. Now they didn't sell wood, they sold coal. And ice, that's where it came to some cold night. I don't know of a winter that anybody went without heat or without a bag of coke if he knew it. You could go there and tell Mr. Parrish, I ain't got no money, and I'd like to get a sack of coal or what have you did. Yes, so you bring me the money. When you get it, you can go on and get your coal. That was him. Nobody, you nor me, went there and asked. I believe you could get it.
Taking over the business after my parents having passed away, it has been a trial. We don't want to be looked at as a black funeral home. We are the most established service in Manassas, Prince William County. Okay. We serve all the way up to the Pennsylvania line, as far as down to the South Carolina lower line. We have served internationally. My dad did have AIMS means efficient service. And my children said, Dad, we want to uphold that legacy, but we also want to form our own legacy as being extraordinary in our service. So that's how we became who we are right now. And that's why all the lighthouses, most of these lighthouses were donated by families we've served since 2018.
And Rice, J.E. Rice's, that's the only store we got left now. That was one of the greatest men that was in Manassas. He used to be an automobile mechanic before he was a Western Auto man. You carry your car in his shop. Now, I didn't know too much about this, but I heard a lot about him. You ain't had no money, but you got your car fixed. Yeah, Mr. Rice, I'm bringing the money. Something they paid, man, but you can get your car fixed. He turned into the Western Auto store. I've been right there and I've seen it. Man stand on the outside of his store, Christmas Eve, and he ain't got nothing for his children. And when that man got ready to close up, I seen it. Man go down and tell Mr. Rice, could I get something from the children? He said, what you need? I need something from my children because I ain't got nothing for Christmas. Yeah, pick it up, get it, go. Gone. I know for a fact that were people went there and bought stuff from him and they never paid him. But yet you go back to Mr. Rice. That was him.
When we first came up here, most of the shopping was, most people made their living in agriculture. So on Friday night and Saturday, families would come to Manassas to shop. There was an A&P and a Safeway. But most of the time they would come either in a flatbed truck or a pickup. And most of the time the husband and wife would be in the cab and the smaller kids would be in the cab and the other kids would be on the rear. And Center Street was two-way. It was not one-way like it is now. And there was parking on one side of it. And it was just, on Friday nights, it was just a zoo with so much traffic and everything. And